Good evening, everybody. Matrix here, and here's my watch list for February 7th. Okay, taking a look at the futures right now. The day is not over. However, the futures is still pretty weak right now. We are fading into the close. I've marked off this support line over here as it tested a couple times yesterday. It tested yesterday and tested today. Now we have a potential triple bottom, and it's also a prior high from February 4th. So if this support snaps, then we are definitely coming back down lower. This relates to the 272 on the SPY right now. It might just bounce off. It really depends on how we open tomorrow, okay? So how does that relate to the SPY? Here's the action on the SPY. Here's that 72 I was talking about, right? So it's exactly where it should be right now. I mean, if it snaps, then we have the next mark, 271.5, and then 271. Today's action was actually not surprising. I mean, yes, last night I did call that it was going to be able to go either way. But however, we did need a pullback from this up run here, and that's what's happening right now. Personally, I like to see it come back down a little bit more and test perhaps this 100 SMA area at the 270 before the next bounce up or the next leg up, or by the time it comes here, maybe it snaps and pulls back all the way down to the VWAP. We'll have to see. So got to keep an eye on the 200 SMA here at the 274, as well as see if this support snap tomorrow at the 272. So we'll have to wait and see what it does from there. With that said, there are a few tickers in play that I will be watching tomorrow. First up is EA. Wow, have I got a story for you guys, but I'm not going to tell it right now. I'll tell it in the recap on EA. Last night I called it short. I was looking for a gap down pre-market and then pop back up into 77 and fail. Unfortunately, it gapped up instead, and then it held its 77, right? It held the 77, and then it just kept running. What that entails to, it's basically why did it happen? Well, first of all, I did mention that the stock is on SSR, so shorting it would be tough. Second of all, this drop down is it's a huge drop down, right? So perhaps investors think it's more like an over exaggeration, right, of the sell-off. However, I still have a bear bias or a short bias on this name, right? Today, I was able to, well, just to make the long story short, I got chopped out at the open looking at this 79.50, 79.60 area top out. And then eventually I recognized the higher lows and I reversed my bias, knowing that the stock is on SSR and it was making higher lows. So eventually I actually got long instead, and I got in around this 70.65 area and rolled it all the way to the top. And I literally did ride it all the way to the top right here. And this is where I got out right there. Anyways, this is not a trade recap though. And I'll go through all my trades on EA later on my trade recap. Anyways, what I want to see tomorrow on EA though, we are closing at a key level of $80. Okay, and since I have been watching this ticker all day, this is naturally going to be my main go-to play for tomorrow, because in my head, I have all the levels marked out, right? So I'm going to mark out 81, 80, and 80.50. Throughout the day, I noticed that EA respects these half-dollar levels very, very well. Okay, so definitely mark those off. Now, it can really go both ways. SSR is still on. Okay, we are at a very critical area here. You can either call it support or resistance at the $80 whole psychological whole number. Okay, so depending on what it does tomorrow, right? On the 15-minute chart, you see this, it's riding this uptrend, and we also have a downtrend right here. Okay, so we're actually stuck in a wedge, but overall, this to me looks like a bear flag, right? So we have the massive down move. The stock is flagging a little bit, And then tomorrow, depending on what it does, I like to see it snap, obviously. Then I'm gonna short it for the leg down, and my first target will be here at 77.5 or 77. Okay, and that would be the short idea. Okay. However, if it gaps up, then I'm going to look for a dip at the open to hold one of these supports, right? If it gaps up, I'm looking for a hold on any one of these supports and then long. And I do see it at a major resistance of potential for the stock to come back up to 83.75 area over here. Okay. My first watch is if it pops and slaps and gets slapped at the highs today, my thesis is still short because it tapped out a triple top today, and I actually took a short on it today at the triple top, but we'll talk about that later. So that's the ideas for EA tomorrow. Just got to be very reactive. Have to check back on it in the morning and see what it does pre-market. Just remember SSR is still on, and there is a possibility that the stock can still run, right? We are holding this uptrend very well today, and it might pull back and bounce right off this uptrend breakout, get the long in, right? Watch these areas. Next up, we have PayPal, PYPL. PayPal is interesting to me, mainly because of the daily chart. Okay, 92.50 key level. All right, just gonna mark that off right here. We're nearing it, and as you can see, it basically topped out at 92.50 a few times for the past few days, right? So I'll watch 92.50. It got hammered this morning, and then it basically filled the gap, and it closed as a double top. So I am looking for a little bit more of a pop at the open, because late day around the 3:30 area, we see people buying in around this 92, right? So I think they're expecting a gap up. If it does, I'll be watching 92.50. This is very critical. Okay, we have a lot of shorts piled in from the 92.50. We actually have a nice downtrend line as well. Okay, so if it reclaims 92.50, then I'm going to long. If it rejects, then I'm going to short. First area of interest is bring it back down to 91. Yeah, around the 9 EMA. I think if I'm shorting this, 91 would be my first target over here. And then essentially $90.50, which is around this area right here, right there. So that's PayPal. ROKU is next. On ROKU, I'll be watching for a reclaim of 48.50. Okay, so let's mark that off real quick. Right there. Okay, as you can see, 48.50 played a key role in the past 3 days. Okay, it topped out here at 48.50, and it basically held here as support when there was massive volume. However, ROKU, the overall chart, still looks bullish to me on the daily chart, right? It's basically just consolidating and flagging right now. We have two trend lines. Before I mark off the trend line, though, I want to mark off right here, 47.50, and the trend line right here that it's following right now. Okay, so we have like a ascending triangle. If it reclaims 48.50, then I like to get long and ride it right back up, right? I'm looking for a double bottom play. Okay, let's see here. 47, yeah. 47.5 daily chart. Okay. Zooming in, that's the closing price of this massive up day. And then we have basically kind of tapped out, bottomed out here. We're very close to 47.5. So tomorrow, depending on what it does, if it bounces off here, or if it snaps, right? It's holding this 200 SMA very well. It's still following trend. Overall, this trend is still intact, long-term trend. It could pull back a little bit more. I think I meant to hit this 47 double bottom. Yeah. So there's a major bottom right here. Okay. And if it pulls back, I'm going to look for 47 to hold, key psychological hold number, and bounce. Double bottom long play for the long. If it rejects 48.50, short it. That's ROKU. ATVI, this thing dumped huge in sympathy of EA. Okay, but unlike EA, this thing never had a chance to come back up. So what I'll be watching for tomorrow is a continuation down. We have some key resistance areas that I'll be watching for. The 44 to 44.20 area is a key resistance zone. Okay, so right here, you can see that. And then also the 43.70s. Yeah. So 43.50s to 43.70s, another key zone right here. So two levels of resistance that I'll be watching. The reason why I am putting this on my watch is because there's a massive potential for it to go down even more. If I zoom out real quick, there's a gap fill right here back in early 2017, and we are into that gap right now. Okay, so I am looking for that gap fill, and it looks like it wants it. So I'm looking for a cover pop at the open, rejects into one of these areas, and then fail. Let's delete this real quick. I want to show you why I marked off 43.70s. So 43.70 is right here to the penny. It's basically the bottom of this massive wick right here, right? But the major volume came from this doji candle, right? So I'll be watching this area as well, the bottom of this wick, right? So 44.50s, okay? So lots of resistance overhead, okay? And from there, I'm looking for a rejection signal and a short, potentially bring it back down to the low of today and then fill the gap. Some could say this is a double bottom as well today at the 42.50, but we'll see. We'll see if it tests and holds, right? Okay, so that's ATVI. It's going to be EA, ATVI is going to be my main watches for sure. MU, very overextended, very simple. Because of how overextended it is, I'll be watching for a pullback day. I'll be watching the highs of today around the 42 mark, and if it busts through, I'll be watching 42.50. Very simple. 42.50, you can see on the daily chart, it had a lot of prior support, now becomes resistance right about here. So I'm not saying it can't run again because it did hold its gains pretty well. As far as support go, if it's gonna run again or if it's gonna hold support, I'm watching for 41 to 41.20 as a support area right here. This is a support zone, in my opinion, because it's a key psychological hold number. Give it a little bit of wiggle room as long as it holds. Let's see what we can see in the 5-minute chart here real quick. Yeah. Okay, maybe this zone is a little bit too loose. No, I like it. I like it. I like the 41 and the 41.20s. See, it's the highs of this massive pop today. And then it tried to test here at the 41 again. So if it comes down and tests this 41, that would make it a potential double bottom right here for the long. Bottom here, long it, ride it up to 42, maybe break out 42.5. So key levels to watch. Finally, TTWO. This is another gaming company, Take-Two Interactive, and it has a lot to do with the Fortnite and the EA series as well. I'll be watching for continuation downside. They had a bad earnings reaction, and I'll be watching for the 95 pop and drop, key psychological whole number, and then we have support here at 92. Okay, so as you can see, late day it failed 92, but it reclaimed and it started ripping again. This was a big miss, though. I mean, if you're looking at it at the open, the key, I can't believe I missed this and played EA instead, right? It reject perfectly at the 100, pre-market highs as well, right? So 100 key psychological area, pre-market highs as well. Bad earnings reaction. It was perfect. It was a massive miss on my behalf. So 7 points to the downside. Jeez. So hopefully tomorrow I get to play it again, and it continues to the downside. It did close very near VWAP. 95 key psychological number plays pretty well. That's the first resistance area I'm watching. I'm not saying it can't come up some more, but also going to watch this 97. I mean, if it squeezes, it's going to squeeze stupid, right? A lot of shorts have piled in right now. And let's see what it does tomorrow in the morning. So that's my watch list this evening. If you enjoyed what you watched, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. And I'll see you guys all bright and early tomorrow. Thanks. Ciao.